someone mods admins Forex when he joins the chat.
I'm here
as well. Oh, you there? I got you. Hey, Forex.
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for having me.
No, glad to have you. It's a pleasure to finally meet you and get this opportunity. Thank you very much. We're very blessed.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot coming up, a lot to talk about. So, let's, I guess give people a few minutes to come in and then we can get into it.
Yeah, of course.
Is there someone recording this?
Yeah, me. I'm streaming it.
All right. Awesome. Oh, okay. So, DM me your YouTube channel because, it's, I probably have already watched it and subscribed to it, but, I'm super busy. So I just, I'm bad with names because I talk to, 100 people a day. So
I got you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Right, I'll send that now. Yeah, it's going to be left as a VOD so people can catch up if they manage to miss this one. So
cool. All right.
How are you feeling anyway, Forex? Are you better? Are you feeling better? You ready to roll?
Oh, yeah. So, I would strongly recommend IV vitamin infusion therapy. I got it for the first time, and it really, really helps. I got a protocol that was recommended to me by someone who specializes in this, and off the top of my head, right, I'm not a specialist in it, so I could be wrong about this. Don't just, take what I say and copy it without doing research. But I got 6 grams of vitamin C, 300 grams of, 300 milligrams of glutathione. I got some like 3,000 micrograms of vitamin B12. Some like 200 grams of zinc, and some other stuff, some vitamin D, but a massive, IV vitamin infusion, specifically for to trigger an immune response. And at the time I got it, I had a fever of 103. I had, I think, the beginning stages of pneumonia where I had fluid in my lungs that I was, when I breathed, there'd be gurgling, I'd be coughing things up. The worst sore throat I've ever had. And I got the, IV therapy. I was also taking Motrin and Tylenol every 4 to 6 hours, going back and forth. And that was able to get my fever down to 101 around there. And the night I got the infusion, about 12 hours later, the symptoms got worse, noticeably worse. But looking back on it, I think that was just my immune system kind of working overtime. And really, a lot of the symptoms that we get when we are cold is more the immune response than the actual infection itself. So such as you have the fluid in your lungs and the congestion, all that, that's the immune response. That's not actually, well, I guess the immune response is a result of the infection, but it's the immune response that's causing a lot of the symptoms. And I got kind of a flare up about 12 hours after the infusion, which is when you would expect to kind of have your immune start to react to the infusion. And really bad that night. But then by the next morning, my fever had essentially broken, which I know is also because of the Tylenol and Motrin. My sore throat was noticeably better, and I was coughing and hacking up things all night, but my lungs were a lot better as well. And then by the next day, I felt like 90% better. No more fever. My sore throat was a mild sore throat, no pneumonia symptoms, and 2 or 3 days later, 100%. So
you found the elixir then?
Well, I think if you had a poor immune system, it would help, but maybe not as dramatic. But I've never recovered from being that sick that quickly, and and also I was dehydrated because
stay hydrated, Forex. That's what you tell us. Come on.
So After a couple days of being so sick, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't eating, and like as soon as I got the infusion, just getting a lot of fluids made me feel pretty good right away. Anyways, so yeah, I would recommend it.
Well, I'm glad you're better. That's all that matters. And you'll have to DM me some of that because I'm interested. I've got strep throat today, so might help me.
Yeah, I don't know what I had, but I think it could have been strep throat just because my sore throat was so bad. I also had some COVID symptoms. I did a at-home COVID test, and it came up negative. But my father is actually an emergency room doctor, and he knows quite a bit about COVID because when COVID hit the city that he lived in, the emergency room that he works in was designated the COVID hospital because early on in COVID, they didn't want it to spread, so they would take one hospital in the city and designate that for COVID cases. And so he was the house officer, which means he's the emergency room doctor that runs the emergency room. So he was dealing with a lot of it, and he told me that especially some of the older at-home tests really don't work too great, and without going to a lab and actually getting tested, it's 50-50. So so I don't know what I had, but the point is I'm better.
Yeah, we're here. Fair play to you. So again, thank you very much for being here. I've got lots of questions we're not going to get through because there's so many. So I want to try and box off some things first. And if you wouldn't mind starting with, obviously I've seen your message in Telegram clearing up the LP situation with the dogs LP and single asset dogs.
Yeah.
But a lot of people may not have seen it, so I thought it would be good just to get that out the way so you can explain it. I want to hear it from you. The situation with the LP. So you just crack on and tell us what it is, what this crack is.
Yeah. So basically, what I was getting at in the last AMA is that LPs are harder to program because you're working with the contract that is issued by whatever DEX you're working with, and to put any tokenomics into that, you have to use a third contract or some sort of intermediary contract, something like that, and that makes it harder to work with, and that also makes the the tokenomics that we have worked into the new system for dogs harder to integrate. So sorry. So that's what I was getting at, right? I wasn't saying that of course people that had LPs at the point of the pause event would not get LP tokens, right?
Yeah.
They'll have a choice.
Yes, the dog's here. That's all I wanted from this AMA Forex.
So they'll have a choice where they can go into single asset dogs or LP tokens. So if you held single asset dogs, you will get credited single asset dogs. If you held LP tokens, you have a choice whether you want to go into single asset dogs or LP tokens. Now, I don't want to add vesting to the primary Master Chef contracts. I think the model that we have currently works very, very well. Adding a tax system to the single asset dogs, because it's a farm token and it acts as a reward mechanism for the farm, works way better than vesting, because then you're giving people the option to sell if they want, but they're going to incur a tax, and by keeping the tokens in the system for a period of time, they can reduce that tax to all the way down to next to nothing. So it acts as a form of vesting, but it's a form of vesting that rewards the people that stay in longer, as opposed to a form of vesting where you're locked, you can't do anything with it even if you wanted to, and there's no reward structure there for the people who do remain in the system and do stay strong-handed. So having a tax system like this is the best of both worlds, because it gives flexibility to people. If, say, you have an emergency and you do need to get out, and you're willing, to take you're willing to take a bit of a hit because you're in a situation where you need to access it now. It's almost like a type of emergency end stake kind of function. You can do that. Now it's going to pay the people who are in there longer. So I don't want to add vesting to the LP staking on the MasterChef for just the general MasterChef contracts. And there's, the reason for that is because the way that the system works, allowing people to take their pigs, put it into the pig pen, and benefit as a governor or an owner of the system really is smooth. And then the pig pen itself has its own vesting model. So putting two vesting models into the system is not ideal. But if we're going to be crediting people, we need to have some vesting, right? Because you need to ensure that you're not just giving a ton of tokens that were previously operating in an ecosystem that had vesting and an incentive structure to reward people for remaining inside, and kind of do away with that, and then just give it to people in their wallets. Without that embedded ecosystem that's active and vesting structure, then you have a system where people just get a bunch of tokens to their wallet. They know that some portion of people are going to dump it, and then you have kind of a race to dump first, knowing that there's a chance that you could probably buy in lower anyways. So even the people that want to be in the system will sell, thinking that they can get in at a lower price anyways. And it's really it really sets up for a negative cascading that doesn't help anybody, right? And like in the big picture, that really hurts everybody in the system, minus maybe a couple bots, a couple whales that are lucky and get early. So to avoid that, the solution that that we've come up with, and I really think, and this is why I kind of wanted to hold off on this until we get documents out, because I don't want another situation where I talk about one specific thing, such as how we handle single asset staking and auto compounding, to get extrapolated out to the whole system and have it taken out of context and stuff like that. I think it's better to let the documentation speak for itself. That's very detailed, that's very well structured. But for the people that are getting credited dogs and dog LPs, if you get you credited your dog tokens, that's great. You can take those dog tokens, you can pair them with BNB or with BUSD tax-free, and put them into the new farms. The new farms and the new pools will be essentially essentially starting from fresh, because there's some people that left their TVL in the V1 contracts, and we have developed a contract that will allow them to, as a reward for them and as a sign of good faith that they kept their capital in there. We built a contract that will allow them to migrate their capital from V1 to V2 without paying the deposit fee. Right. So there's that, but the percentage of people that are still in the V1 contracts relative to the amount of TVL we will have after launch is minuscule. So essentially, the farms and pools that are active to the public, that are active to everybody, are starting off fresh. So people who get credited the single asset dogs can decide, I want to get into the single asset dog staking pool, knowing that if they do that, anybody who does decide to dump is going to dump into this tax, which generates BNB that is then paid out to the single asset dog staking pool, and their taxes being lowered at the same time for building up their loyalty score. Or they can decide to take those dogs, pair them with or BUSD, and put them in the farm, and essentially get in the farm from the ground floor, because there will be no dogs BUSD in those farms at the start. The farms are essentially starting fresh. Now, for people who want to get credited in their LP tokens, they can also decide to do this. Now, there will be a vesting model for this, similar to when we credited pigs, and they will earn a flat rate APY. So because we know exactly the amount of people that had LPs, we know it's not a typical model where with a farm you're minting a specific amount of tokens to a pool, and then what determines the APY is how many people go into that pool and how diluted that pool gets. We already know the about how many people are holding LP tokens, and it's a relatively small amount, just because generally when you have a farm and pool type situation like this, a lot of the capital ends up going into the single asset staking anyways. At least half, in this case is more than half, like significantly more than half. So the people, which is about like 20% of dogs that decide that they want to go into the dogs LP, they want to get credited dogs LP, they'll be credited into a contract that allows them to earn a static rate of 35% APY as it gets reduced. As they're not reduced, but I mean their vesting, as their vesting gets released, and then once their vesting gets released, they can decide whether they want to go into the non-vesting farms and pools, or they can decide that they want to unstake, meaning unpair, right? So get out of the farm, unpair, access their BNB or BUSD or whatever it is, take those dogs, take the dog side of it, put it into the dog single asset to start earning BNB and reducing their tax on it. And really, it's up for the people.
Bro, just get it across before. Understand. So you get your dogs. How
no,
long?
You're not. There's vesting, just like a system where people are being credited into where people are being credited into a system that has a staking model where they were previously in the staking model, and in this case it's a farm, so it takes time for the model to kind of self-incentivize. And if we were to just immediately credit people LP tokens that they could immediately unpair, that's what would happen, right? A bunch of people would race to immediately unpair, and then you have that cascading effect, which is good for literally nobody. And the percentage of people who are going to complain about this, it's, first of all, it's less than 20% of holders that that would be affected by this, and it's literally 4 or 5 people who are trying to get attention and have their own motivations that are pushing this, this kind of FUD. But in reality, it's a system that benefits everybody, because it's going to allow for a solid performance of the asset. So it's kind of there's two options, right? We do a structured vesting that allows people who are who want to be or who are serious investors in the protocol to decide that they want to get into, I would say, the better option, because you have more angles to take advantage of it, would be to get credited the single asset dogs. And if you do decide to get credited the single asset dogs, and you had LPs, what will happen is those LP tokens that you're saying, instead of getting credited the LP tokens, I want to get credited the single asset dogs, you'll get credited the USD value of your LP tokens in dogs, and then your LP tokens will get locked in the liquidity pool. So now you've added locked liquidity to the liquidity pool, and now you have dogs that are worth the same USD rate of your LP tokens, which you can now decide to put into the single asset dog staking pool, start earning BNB, and there's going to be some significant payout of BNB immediately, because there will be some weak hands, and that it's going to create a ton of BNB to be paid out to the single asset pool. Or you can decide, I want to get credited these single asset dogs, pair them with BNB or pair them with BUSD to get into the farms, the V2 farms, which you'll most certainly get a higher APY immediately, and you're putting a you're essentially putting an investment into getting the higher APY, which also supports the whole project, because that means that's more liquidity and more capital coming into the system, and you'll get a higher APY for that. Or you could determine, I just want to get out of the system, and of course we can't just send tokens to people's wallets, which will cause this cascading effect that I already talked about. So the solution for that is you get credited your LP tokens. This way, for the small handful of people that we're saying, well, first of all, if you understand how liquidity pools work, saying something as stupid as, when people initially thought that they weren't going to get LPs, some people thought that, saying something as stupid as, you're taking my BNB or you're taking my BUSD, that shows a major misunderstanding of how liquidity pools work. Because if you're getting credited the same USD value of dogs that your LP was worth, then those dogs are worth the same amount of BUSD and BNB that your LP tokens were worth, and those BNB and BUSD are in the liquidity pool. So it shows a huge misunderstanding and ignorance of how liquidity pools even work. The benefit to having people credited in dogs relative to LPs is we can build in the tokenomics that make the system very, very attractive for people that want to stay in for the longer term, right? And this is what I was talking about in the previous AMA. I wasn't saying that people wouldn't get credited in LPs. I was talking about why we wanted to put more focus on crediting dogs, what the benefit is of crediting single asset dogs, and why that go into LPs. So I think I might have just cut out for a second, but so it wasn't that we're saying people couldn't get credited LPs. It was that we can put more tokenomics and build the system a lot better to reward people that are in for the long term if people are getting credited in single asset tokens. So where so we're going to give people the choice where they can decide either or. They can get into their LPs, they could get into single assets. Either way, there's vesting. So it's either vesting in the form of the tax or vesting in the form of you're getting release the tokens over a period of time. And this is to protect the investor. This is to prevent run on the bank cascading negative effect on the price. So the pig token, now the pig token gets all of its value essentially from the farm. Now, of course, there is value in the time locking mechanisms and all of the tools that we've built around pigs and the game that we've developed. That is a form of value, but where the cash flow is coming from that's backing the pig token is from the farm. It's coming from the deposit fees on the farm, and it's coming from the tax on the dog token. Now that we've restructured the tax on the dog token, it's going to generate a lot more capital for pigs. And this means pigs is going to be a way more in demand and attractive asset. And then when you consider the game that we've built on top of the pig pen, it's pigs is just an incredible asset that people could invest in right now, anticipating the value that's to come with the farm. And I think that's the play to take advantage of right now. So the tax that's associated with dogs is split up 1/3 and 2/3. So 1/3 is getting swapped for BUSD and paid to the pig pen, and 2/3 is getting paid to the single asset dog staking pool. And just like I really dislike talking about the complaints that you see here and there. That's not the way to frame things. The way to frame things is to speak to the benefits of the system, and that will allow the people who have these complaints or see these complaints, people that notice and see the complaints, to realize why we did it and why the complaints are invalid, rather than focusing on the complaints themselves. So, for example, I've seen you're going to put a high tax on dogs. The alternative to that is vesting. So we can have a model where you're vested and you get access to some percentage of your dogs every day, but that typically results because there's no strong reward in there for the people that do hold. It's just you're forced to hold. It's not there's a value transfer from people who don't to people who do. So when you have a situation like that, then you tend to have people slowly leech and dump the system as the tokens become available. Whereas a model like this, it has the same functionality as vesting, but instead of force locking, you're allowing people to make the decision, and people who sell earlier pay a greater tax to people who are staying in longer. And it handles all of the mechanics of vesting in a much, much better and self-rewarding way. So, that is the basic infrastructure of how we will launch V2. And it's a model that is designed to outperform any farm in the space. It has, given the mechanics that we already had in V1, and now the improvements that we've made to V2, and the fact that we're starting off with a pretty big pool of capital, which acts as a reward model for people that stay in longer, V2 is set up to be more successful than if we were to launch a farm right from the ground up. We could use this current model, launching from the ground up, but doing it with a large pool which comes from the current dog's liquidity pool, that acts as a reward model for people that stay longer and as a value transfer for people that have weak hands. It prevents the cascading negative price impact that comes with crediting people after an event like what we had, but also builds up the whole system in ways that are that really have nothing to do with the crediting event, such as a new cash flow for pigs and the farms themselves remaining as liquid as they were previously, meaning you're earning pigs. You can take those pigs, immediately move them over to the governance pool and start earning there, and then the governance pool has its own vesting model to handle that. And now another major improvement that we made is that the dogs token previously, so the way it works is the deposit fees, 25% of the deposit fees goes to what we call our liquidity helper contract, and 75% goes swaps for BUSD, and this BUSD goes to the pig pen. Now, previously, the liquidity helper contract, the way that worked is that the liquidity helper contract collected all of the BUSD as it built up on the contract, and it got dogs that were coming from attacks on the dog token. And when the BUSD would hit a certain threshold, it would then pair that BUSD with the dogs on the contract and now add liquidity. And those dogs on the contract came from the tax on dogs. We have removed that element of tax on dogs. So the tax on dogs is now only going to the single asset dog staking pool and the pig pen. We designed the V2 liquidity helper contract to not need dogs to be sent to it. And instead, now what happens is 25% of all the BUSD, which is generated from deposit fees, go to this liquidity helper contract. When the liquidity helper contract hits its threshold, it buys dogs with half of the BUSD and then adds liquidity. So all it's doing is buying dogs and adding liquidity. And the reason why that is so much better of a model than the previous model is because previously it would take the dogs that were sent to it, and when the BUSD hit the threshold, if there was more USD value in dogs on the contract, it would need to sell some of the dogs to create an equal amount of value on the contract. And because dogs is a volatile farm reward asset, a bunch of dogs is being traded all the time, which means a bunch of dogs was going to that contract, and it created a consistent event where it would be selling some dogs to add liquidity. And that's fine because the capital never left the dogs pool, really, but I never want to bake in sell pressure to any of my ecosystems. So previously, it would occasionally sell dogs, kind of often actually, sell dogs, use that BUSD to add liquidity, and it would just essentially be taking liquidity from the buy side, splitting it up and putting it on the buy and sell side, where in this case, it's only adding liquidity to the buy side of the liquidity pool, which causes both price appreciation but still deepens that locked liquidity pool. So now you have a scenario where it's a constant cash flow of capital buying the dogs token and locking that dog's liquidity. So it's
cool. It's flipped from sell pressure to buy pressure.
Yeah, only buy pressure, and it's using this buy pressure to add and lock liquidity.
That's pretty clever. I've got to give you that one, mate. That's pretty clever. I like it. So when you talk about the pig pen and obviously the 75% of that tax going into the pig pen, obviously I've been saying in a lot of videos recently that obviously, none of us are financial advisors, but in my opinion, people are sleeping on the pig pen. like, because they don't see, you know, price and value is a major thing for me. I talk about it all the time. And once you realize value, whether it be in an asset or a system, then you will reap the rewards of the future, because obviously the farm is paused. We get that. We know it. But when these injections of BUSD happen into that pig pen, and you've accumulated and got your position set right now, during these times, that's so bullish that 75% is being injected into the pig pen, with all the other stuff that's going to be happening in the farms and the pools. You know, it's just pigs. I don't think people quite realise what we've got. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't think they understand the value of it.
Well, this is not just crypto, markets in general, but I would say especially crypto, because you have, I think crypto has the widest range of investors. So you not only have the most intelligent investors in crypto, you also have the least educated investors in crypto. So you have a very wide range. And in markets in general, people have a hard time buying value, and people buy hype. That's what they buy. And that's even more so in crypto. So right now, and you said injected, and it is injected. I tend to use the term injected when I talk about the capital that is coming from the rehypothecation of funds. I'm injecting that into the pig pen. But I think it's important to remember that the capital that's coming from the dog's tax and the deposit fees is something that's completely decentralized and is happening automatically. So every time dogs is sold, that tax is generated, and that BUSD is immediately sent to the pig pen. The same as every time a deposit happens, that BUSD is generated and sent to the pig pen. So as soon as the farm goes live, it's going to be a massive cash flow of BUSD going to the pig pen. So yes, people have trouble buying value. You know, right now, like, as an investor, I've done very, very well as an investor. And I think it's because I have longer term perspectives, and I look towards fundamentals. I never look towards hype. I always tend to, you know, when I see hype, I take a little off the top, you know. So the opportunity that I see with investing in pigs and the pig pen is that you can get in right now before the farm is live, before the new wave of investors come in and start entering the farm and buying pigs, before we start a massive marketing campaign, and before all of this BUSD is being generated from the pig pen. You can buy pigs cheap right now, get into that pig pen, so you have a nice accumulated position by the time this starts, so you're not buying in with the crowd. And that's the opportunities that you need to take advantage of. And, you know, do this with developers who have a long track record of successful projects and a long track record of taking projects that have had multiple cycles. So Reap, I launched Reap. Reap did very well. I then, you know, it pumps, I don't know what it pumped, hundreds of X's. And then it had a major correction. It sat around $2 or something for a long time. We then had some sort of reward model for people that add liquidity to it, where we had a type of ETH payout. This was very early on. It created another massive pump, another all-time high, I'd say about 6 months after launch. We then had another correction, and all these corrections, these major corrections, were in line with major market cycles as well. And then we launched the DAO group and had the pre-sale raise for B-Reap. And Reap did another massive all-time highs, you know, broke like 20x the previous all-time high, and B-Reap launched. And then B-Reap was a way that people could take advantage of the mechanics of Reap, but on the Binance Smart Chain network, which was cheaper and more efficient. So Reap did very well. And then Reap, due to overall market conditions, due to market cycles, had a major correction. So what did we do? We came up with Drip, and we implemented BREAP as the token that you needed to hold to unlock rewards. BREAP, new all-time high, does, whatever, 10, 20x the previous all-time high. And I have a very consistent record of providing value for my assets, not only, in the new projects. So not only because I see value for them in the new projects, but also in, very, very well timed with the overall cycles, and I put effort into this, and I pay a lot of attention into market cycles, and I like to give time for the weak hands to be shaken before we add the next layer, the next major all-time high, because the people that are just in it buying hype, that are not in it for the long term, that don't see the value, they're going to come and go, right? Yeah. Those are not the people that you reward. You reward the people that have the long-term vision for the project, because they're going to create stability for your project, and they're going to create the base of value that maintains for your project. So I never try to, we're at all-time highs, I got this great idea. I'm more likely to wait for the next cycle to push that idea than push a new idea at all-time high. I would rather have a correction, because corrections are natural and corrections are going to happen. That gives a chance for weak hands to get flushed out, and for the people that are long-term investors to accumulate and load up on their positions. And then you hit them with the next thing, and you bring more value into it. And then that next move is even more stable, because the people who are the long-term holders have now built up bigger positions, and the weak hands are out. And then, of course, a lot of the weak hands come back, but they come back because of the hype, and they end up buying higher. So, just look at our record, look at our previous assets and how we've managed that. And in my opinion, it becomes a no-brainer what you should be doing with pigs right now. So I've put so much effort and our resources in the past 6 or so months team building, because I see, I see an opportunity here. We have this major investment base that is built up, a lot of it having to do with Drip, but also Animal Farm. And I see an opportunity here to really take us to the next level, right? Put us on the leaderboard, top 20, top 10 project in overall crypto. And we have the products to be able to do that, both with Animal Farm, which is, especially with the V2 mechanics, the most efficient farm in the world, meaning that we most efficiently use your capital. So your capital is both earning our reward vehicles, which is dogs, and our governance token, which is pigs, while also being staked in PancakeSwap, allowing you to earn a low risk yield in PancakeSwap at the same time you're earning yield on our farm. And that's something that you can't get in any other farm in the space. And now this yield goes to the pig pen. Previously, we were doing buybacks and pig pen injections. Through doing some analytical research, we realized that we want to do all pig pen injections, because that takes that capital that we're earning on the back end, all of that value that we're generating from all of the capital on the farm that is being lent out to PancakeSwap, is now being paid out to the people who take the assets that they're earning on the farm and migrate that into ownership and have that staked in the pig pen. So that's where that capital is going to end up, right? We're going to use it for almost all pig pen injections, although we've been talking about a model that I definitely want to take advantage of, that I think is just fun and will add excitement to the platform, and that's a crowd investment model where a small percentage, and I'm saying small, something like 2 or 3% of the BUSD that's generated from this rehypothecation, which is significant capital, 2 or 3% is hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, will be voted on by the people in the pig pen, the governance stakers, and they will vote where we put that 2 or 3%. Right? It could be in anything from like the latest AVAX node to PancakeSwap to some major new platform. Now there will be some element of filtering where but there'll be some for example, due diligence there that so people who know my development team know that I have 2 developers that previously worked as auditors. One is a recent hire who I've brought on to work on Drip, him and James Debstreak. And I sniped him from an auditing firm, which is amazing. Like, this bear market has been better than ever for us to build our team, because these people that previously would be, super busy and employed and over expensive, we've been able to snipe them from major companies. So we brought someone on that has a lot of auditing experience, and then we have one of our core devs who's worked with us for a while, who was a CERTIC auditor for a long time, and will likely have a preliminary vote where essentially it's anybody can vote for anything, and we'll do this in a public setting that's not specifically in the governance system, just in the Telegram chat, most likely, and that will allow people to vote on any project, and then we can take the top 3 to 5 of those, do our audits, do our diligence, and then put those 3 to 5 projects up for vote in the governance protocol. Allow the pigpen stakers to vote on where we put that 2 to 3% that we're earning, and we'll put that 2 to 3% BUSD in whatever platform they vote on.
Okay.
And now we'll take that capital that's earned from that platform and pay it out to the pigpen. So it's a way that we can even more efficiently use the capital that we're earning from the rehypothecation, and it's a cool utility for the governance model, and it's something that's just fun and exciting and opens the door to more partnerships and cross promotion, right? So like, if we vote on a project, and of course it's going to often be the hot new whatever's the flavor of the day project, word's going to get out there that we just voted on this project. It's going to get that project's attention, and we're going to have some heavy co-promotion there. So that on top of the vaults, right, which is another opportunity that people have for partnerships. The animal farm is it's something that is not being provided in the space. There's a lot of farms in the space. None of them are doing anything like what we're doing. From the rehypothecation to the dynamic supply control algorithm, which is dynamically shifting the emission rate based on the demand for the underlying assets, the farm assets, that allow us to go under the emission rate that the token is being burned at. And we saw that with V1, where we didn't have nearly the structure that we are developing on V2, or the use cases. We didn't have the piggy bank, we didn't have the pigpen game, we didn't have the tax model with dogs. So there was even less incentive there. But even with that, we saw that the dynamic supply control algorithm did its job very well. It created very high rewards off the bat, and then when the supply started creeping up because of the high rewards, the supply control algorithm then adjusted to deflationary and we saw immediate price appreciation when it did that because we restricted the supply of the tokens that were hitting the market. There's no other there's no other farm that's doing these things, and I feel that we're in. I think it's pretty objective that we're in a better position with V2 because of the new products that we're bringing, because of the new tax structure, and because we have this large dogs liquidity pool, which acts as a reward mechanism for longer term holders. And as I said, just to go full circle here with the whole LP thing, don't get confused. If you held LP tokens at the time of pausing and you want to go into LPs, you can go into LPs. If you want to go into single asset dogs, you can go into single asset dogs. The benefit, there's more options and more benefit to going with the single asset dogs. And the reason for that is because we have the ability to work tokenomics into the single asset dogs because those are our contracts. We have very little flexibility when it comes to LP tokens because we have no ability to edit the contracts of LP tokens. We have to rely on secondary contracts, which we will do. We have built a vesting model for LP tokens, which pays out a flat rate yield, which will likely be which will likely be less than if you get into the new farms, but that's because the new farms are starting out from the ground up, whereas if you're going into the vested LP farm, there's already a bunch of people. Well, there's already a certain amount of people. I won't say a bunch of people because it is a relatively small amount of people that held LPs that will get credited LPs, but it's that's you're not getting into a farm that's starting with no users essentially, and we all know how it works. Getting into a farm with no users, the APY start out very high, and the options there, right? If you had LPs and you decide, you know what, I want to get credited single asset dogs because I know, first of all, I could take some of those dogs, pair it with BNB, pair it with BUSD, put it into the V2 farms, take advantage of the V2 contracts, and reap a greater reward for doing that because I'm putting more capital into the system, or I'll take some of it as well and put it into the single asset dogs because I know there's going to be some weak hands. There's going to be some people that just don't read the docs, and there will be taxes incurred that is going to generate a lot of BNB for the single asset dogs, and it gives me a jump on reducing my tax anyways. So I would say it would be smart to do a mix of both. So what I would do, I'm not giving financial advice to anybody, but what I would do is I would take the dogs, right? If I had dogs LPs or single asset dogs, I would take the credited in single asset dogs. I would take a share of that, maybe half of it, pair it with BNB or BUSD, probably both. I'd pair some BNB, some BUSD that way. Whatever APY, you have some split across both farms. That way, if one has a slightly higher APY, you can take more advantages of that. And get into that, and then take a share of the single asset dogs, put it into the single asset dog staking pool because I want to be there to be earning that BNB when we have that initial exit of weak hands, and I want to get a jump start on reducing the tax on some of my dogs. So at some point when that hype gets high, I can offload some of it. So I mean that would be my strategy. I think that's the best strategy, and the best thing about it is no matter what strategy you choose, there's no panic that you need to be the first to sell because there's going to be some cascading sale events that you want to try to beat. Whether you want to, whether it's I'm worried about that, but I want to invest, so I better sell now and try to buy in lower, or it's I just want to get out in the first place. You have that opportunity, but it's not going to be a cascading event. It will be controlled. One, because of the tax, which is really the best model, but also the people that do decide to get rewarded in dogs. There's dogs LP. There is a vesting there. So, the best thing you can do is set up a system that's going to work the best for everybody, but put more emphasis on the model that's going to reward the people that are in it for the long term. And, try to be as attractive as possible to new investors, because that's going to benefit the old investors. So, if you give a slight advantage to new investors, that's the last thing holders should be complaining about. What you want is for new capital to come in. That's how you're going to appreciate the assets that you hold right now. But the reality is there is no major advantage to new investors, because current investors can either get rewarded in dogs, single asset, if they held single dog single asset, or if they hold LPs, they can determine which one they want to go into, and either one they go into, there's benefits there. But I would say the more heavier benefits are in accepting the single asset, because we can add more tokenomics to it, and then you can decide at that point, do I want to get into the dog single asset contracts, or do I want to add a bit more liquidity to it and get right into farming anyways? So
it's going to be a fun time to work into our strategies, isn't it? Everyone's going to have their own little strategy. I know what mine is.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Yeah, it's similar to what you said. As you say, not financial advisors, but we know, because we're not stupid, that people are going to sell. So I want to be there to collect some of that BNB right away. Yeah. That's where I want to be. But I also want to provide liquidity and play that game.
Yeah, but I would say, and the reason why you want to provide liquidity, of course, is because you want to be earning pigs, because a decent portion of that tax that's occurred on dogs is being converted to BUSD and sent to the pig pen. So you want to be in there to get that. And also all of the deposit fees, all the rehypothecation, all of the people getting into the game, all of that benefits the pig pen as well. And the best way to get pigs is to either buy them directly off the market or farm them with the dog LP tokens. You can no longer use the single asset dog token to farm pigs. So this further restricts the way that you can get pigs, which adds another weighting of demand on the pig asset as well. So, I mean, now's the time to really get into pigs. Now I didn't want to go too deep into the concept, because it's a lot easier for people to understand if I could provide documents at the same time. The granular details will be in the documents, but that's if you heard what I said and you thought about it, you understand the basic concept of how it's going to work. There's so much that's exciting that we're working on. There's also a game that we built for the dog token, which will be launching shortly after the launch of the farm. So we have several products that are already built, and we're going to kind of stair step them every couple weeks and launch a new product on the farm. So, I have the core developers that I've been working with for, a long time, a couple years. But I didn't want, the fact that we're working on this to take away from any of the other things that I'm working on. So we brought on multiple new developers, and it's been great, because the new developers that we brought on are extremely skilled. They're extremely hungry, and I was able to work with them using an agile workflow model from the ground up that makes it extremely efficient, right? The way we work together. Whereas, it's it's been so when you're working with people for years, people burn out, people lose drive, this kind of thing. So it's been a bit of a headache, and it's caused some of the delays. And I don't want to go into like personal dynamics of the team and all this stuff, but this is why I've brought on additional developers who are extremely skilled, and we're in a better place than ever to move forward. Now, I'm a loyal person, so the stuff that was that we were working on previously, that my early core devs were working on, we stuck with it, and we continue to work with it. But moving forward, we have very hungry, very skilled developers that I've never been more excited about where we stand from a development perspective, and like a technical development perspective.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a drive. Also, from a marketing perspective, this is another thing that we made major improvements and just major development on. So I could talk about that, but let me if you have questions, right? I don't want to just keep talking. So, but I do want to speak about our marketing, because we really did hire our CMO. I just had a meeting with him yesterday where we knew we were going to. So I talked about in the previous AMA that we were going to move forward with it. We officially hired our new CMO yesterday, and cool. And it's amazing, because we're not just working with this CMO, we're also working with a major firm that has provided marketing for Polygon, Matic, Shopping.io, Sandbox, major projects. Now the issue that I saw with that, let me just go into it, since I really want to talk about it. So because I'm excited about it.
Sure. Crack on. Let's go.
Yeah. The issue that I saw with using this major firm to handle all of the services, because they do provide a CMO service, is that they charge a flat rate for some of their services. And I didn't want the same person managing our budget to be the person that has an incentive to sell us as many services as possible. And also, this management firm, they're very well connected in the space. They can get us on any YouTube channel. They can get us articles on any news platform. They have the connections, even maybe a level above the connections I have, but also they're dedicated to making these connections and networking and reaching out. This is what they do. Whereas I am juggling a million things at once. I don't always have the time to be making these connections and reaching out and scheduling, which is why I brought on a project manager, Stonecutter, who's been amazing and really helped us a lot. But also the solution that we came up with, which is the best of both worlds, is and it came from interviewing many different firms and many different people that wanted to take on the CMO role. And what we ended up deciding on is to partner with the firm who's going to provide their services, all services but the CMO service, essentially the service where the managing of our budget and the analytical research on the efficiency of these different services, that will be handled by our CMO, who's a separate third party from the firm. And he is only getting paid based on performance. So there's that aligned incentive now, which is perfect, because our CMO has a very long track record working. He's worked with some Fortune 500 companies. He's worked with several affiliate marketing companies. And his specialty is in traditional markets, but it overlaps into what we need, because his specialty is tracking internet traffic and essentially gauging marketing analytics. So, for example, putting out a series of ads, setting up different analytical schemes to determine where the traffic is coming from, what traffic is coming from what ads, if that traffic results in a purchase, if that purchase results in a use of the product, and and all of the data that goes with that. That's his specialty, and he's specifically focused in YouTube and social media ads, paid ads. So that's what he does. That's his specialty. But he also works with banner ads and articles in news firms, and like he's done it all. But that's his specialty, and managing marketing budgets. And part of determining whether we wanted to hire him or not was him showing us a series of companies he's worked with, going over his spreadsheets for these companies, all of his analytical data that he used for his companies. We reviewed all of this before we determined to go with him. And what he will be doing for us is helping to manage our budget, our marketing budget, under my supervision, both using the promotional vehicles that he's used to, that he's very knowledgeable about. So YouTube ads, Twitter ads, TikTok ads, Instagram ads, banner ads, news articles, the kind of traditional marketing that he's used to, and also working hand in hand with the firm that I've spoken about previously to use their services, and then analyzing the performance of those services that they provide, taking advantage of their network and their ability to get us on certain platforms that maybe we could get on anything, but maybe would require me reaching out personally and spending a week talking to them and negotiating, where we can just kind of use their service and skip to the front of the line right away for paying a flat rate. So it's the best of both worlds, because we have someone that can that is getting paid only based on performance, but we have all the tools at our exposure for a major crypto marketing firm as well. And then I have all of my connections, which we will continue to take advantage. Are you there?
I got you. Telegram just quit on us all.
No, the guy Darkcore, whoever your admin Darkcore is, he just ended the chat.
Oh,
so, yeah, you gotta get rid of him like right away. So, So anyways, we have really the best of both worlds here that we're going to take advantage of. And it's exciting because previously I've been handling all marketing myself, right? And because I'm one man and I'm doing a lot of other things, like managing the development team, coming up with the ideas, working on development myself, dealing with the community, doing interviews, doing AMAs. Most of my focus in marketing has been, AMAs, interview, this kind of thing, which I'll have more freedom to do now because I've delegated a lot more tasks. But now we have someone who can more properly manage the marketing budget and really use that capital. And I'll tell you guys that a lot of the capital that was generated from Animal Farm, from V1 of Animal Farm, has not been used because it was just a matter of putting it to work and having the time and resources to put it to work. But it's all still there. It's all still right there because, of course, if something's allocated to marketing, it will only be used for marketing, and it won't leave the wallet until we use it for marketing. But that's something that everybody can be excited and bullish about, the fact that we have a nice marketing budget already that we're going to take advantage of, because it's, most of the marketing that I've done has been non-paid marketing. It's just taken up a lot of my time, essentially.
That's pretty cool. It's good that it allows you to be you and do what you need to do, as opposed to,
it's so
Delegation
important.
as a gaffer, as a business myself in real life, delegation is so important to the long-term success, especially something like the things that you're doing.
Yeah,
It's just phenomenal. So you need to be doing it. So if you don't mind, whilst we were talking about the farms, the question on everyone's lips, and I'm not going to say give us a date because that's ridiculous. I'm not that kind of guy. How close are we to getting the thing that we all want, the best farm in crypto back?
yeah. Okay, so the only thing that's left to do is to finish the dogs crediting and the loyalty contract that we talked about, the new dog sitting contract that's built. We need to wrap up the UI on it, and we need to wrap up the vesting LP contract. But you know, I would say so. Once it's 100% built, we'll put a launch date on it. But the launch date will be out about a month, and the reason for this is because we want to have a very strong and well-focused marketing campaign leading up to the launch. So I am like dead set on having a launch date by the end of this month, and that launch date will be out at 4 to 6 weeks, and that's so we can put a massive effort into a marketing campaign. So we're gonna see a marketing campaign for literally everything we do moving forward. That's going to be unlike anything you've seen out of us before. Like, it's going to be, I think, better than what you see from any other crypto company, because we have someone that has provided marketing and knows how to do marketing for Fortune 500 companies. Plus, we're working with a farm that's already provides marketing for AAA crypto projects anyways. So we really have something special here as far as marketing, and we want of course the time to make it happen. So I'm dead set on getting a launch date by the end of the month, and then that launch date will be out, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah. Now, another thing, Scratchy is built. So I just had a meeting with my developers who I brought on to help build Scratchy. It's 100% built. I just had a meeting yesterday with Chainlink to schedule a demo with them. So next week we're going to be providing a demonstration for Chainlink, which is something that they're very excited about, because a partner with them will mean a lot, and it's something that we're very confident that we can secure because we're using their VRF2 service, which is their new service, in a way that's not only completely unique, but like using it. Basically, it's like their dream situation on how someone would use their VRF2 service. Yeah. So it's so we have a demonstration with them next week. I just spoke with one of my connections with a bunch of online casinos. We'll be starting up meetings with them. We're gonna start having some people essentially fill out applications to use the Scratchy service as a white label service. But I'm very confident that Scratchy is going to be one of the major projects in DeFi. The premier, I would say gaming, because I want to be careful about my wording, but gaming product in DeFi. It's the most gamified staking protocol and a scratch ticket protocol in one. It's people don't know the full extent of it yet because we haven't provided the docs, and I've been careful about providing a lot of the very awesome details just because I don't want copycats to come, because what's going to happen is we say what we're going to do, someone will bake up some some half-assed version of it that doesn't work and is crooked and try to get it out before us. So I've been very careful about sharing all the details, but you guys will be blown away when you realize the full extent of this platform. And it's going to be huge for Drip and Animal Farm, because the first platforms that we use the white label service on will be Drip and Animal Farm. And as I said previously, 20% of all the B&B that's used to buy tickets on a platform goes to buying that asset. So that will be hundreds of thousands of dollars that are used to buy, or if we want to talk on like a yearly scale, many millions of dollars every year that are going into buying our underlying assets and locking it up. We also have set up an affiliate structure, which I'm not going to share the full details of yet, but the way the affiliate structure works will allow people to set up their own brands around our white label service and essentially launch their own businesses using our white label service with their own theming, their own marketing, their own, face of the project. And that's something that our new CMO does. That's one of the things that he has a lot of experience in, taking white label services and assisting companies in building branding around it to create essentially their own company using the white label service. And it allows for that, and it also allows for a model where people can essentially work as affiliates to get our model platformed on various other websites, whether it's an online casino or another DeFi platform, and they will get a share of all the B&B from the sale of all the tickets on that platform. So it's kind of like a referral model, but it's not an exploitable referral model, because for it to be exploited, you would have to create your own, major online casino or major crypto project, and then self-refer, yourself to it. It just it isn't there, right? There's too much of a gate for it to be exploited in that way. So it's but it's amazing for people who are already well versed in affiliate marketing to essentially start their own branding or reach out to platforms that would be interested in hosting essentially a scratch ticket protocol that not only buys back their native assets but also shares a share of the profits generated from all sales. And then there's also a revenue sharing model for the ticket buyers themselves. So it's going to be huge. It's going to be very, very huge. And we're going to put our full resources behind it. And since it's a white label service, and since it's going to be hosted first on Drip and Animal Farm, it's massive for us. It's massive for our existing projects as well.
That's nice. That's absolutely brilliant. I can't wait for Scratchies anyway. It's going to be, it's as a gamer, like some of the things that you've been talking about, which, the hacker game, the dogs roulette game, I've done videos on both. We've got the Scratchies. So bringing gamification and utility to the already built things that we've got, for me personally, is huge. But everyone that I talk to, everyone's got their own little niche, or I think you over there say niche. I'm trying to work the accents out here. They're all like super bullish on these additional utilities. And I wrote something down that I heard, and you might want to touch on it because I loved it. Something to do with innovation and utility, and then the hype and gamification stage that you mentioned one of the times. And I was listening to that and thought, well, it just touches everything that that I want in a crypto project. So I've got my farms, I've got my drip, I've got my pigs and my dogs, and now all these little things that are not just doing, you're not just talking about dogs and pigs with Scratchies and drip. The white label thing opens up so many more doors and potential partnerships that we don't even know are a thing yet, do we? Do you get what I mean?
So the focus moving forward is scalability. We want to be scalable, And this has been something that I've been giving a lot of thought to, right? Delegating and scalability. If we're going to be moving forward and we're going to really start to take over the industry, we need to be able to delegate and we need to be scalable. And Scratchy is, I would say, the first project of this kind that is truly scalable in that sense. It can be adopted both in DeFi and in centralized finance. So it can be used on DeFi platforms, and the protocol itself is fully decentralized, but it can also work on centralized platforms such as online casinos, and you get the full benefit of it being decentralized in the sense that all of the actions are taking place on a decentralized network. You have the VRF service, which is provably trustless, provably random, provably fair, but you can have a centralized service hosting it, which provides a lot of other benefits, such as very strategic, fast-moving marketing plans. Changes around it can be made very quickly. Things like fiat on-ramps, fiat cash outs, that kind of thing is a lot easier with centralized platforms. So it's a major benefit. And in the case of a centralized platform, instead of having the buyback mechanism, for example, 20% of all the BNB used to buy goes to buying back the asset, the underlying asset. Instead, a percentage of that BNB will be shared with the centralized owner. So that's their main incentive to hosting it. And that's more capital that we can use for revenue sharing for the staking protocol, right, on the Scratchy platform. And also the UI is just so beautiful. It's it can be hosted in an iframe on any platform very easily. It looks like any other online store where you can buy your tickets. You can see the tickets there. You click on them. You click scratch ticket. The ticket pops up, and you can scratch it like using your mouse. You have all your numbers. You're scratching it. You see whether your numbers are matching. You see, just like a regular scratch ticket, you see your number match. You scratch a little bit below it. You see what you won. When you're done scratching, it immediately tells you what you won, and you can immediately claim your reward. You can then choose to buy another ticket. You can choose to stake it. If you claim your reward, then it burns the ticket, which in case you can't stake it. And this creates a mechanism where you don't have a double dipping kind of thing, where people, the same guy who wins the jackpot can also stake to earn a revenue share. It's in a way where the majority of the revenue share is going to people who did not win a prize. But also, if you win one of the smaller tier prizes, you might decide, instead of claiming my prize, like the lower tier is you win your money back, instead of claiming the prize to win my money back, I would rather use this ticket as another share stake in the company. And you can do that. You can decide, I don't want to claim, I just want to stake it. And then there's, I'm not going to go into the rest of the detail on how we keep the staking pool not diluted. We have a time weighting mechanism, like a time decay type of thing. It's, the system's perfect to be able to sell the tickets on a secondary market where you could buy the tickets just because you want to win a prize. You might not want to stake them, so you can buy the ticket, see if you want a prize. You don't win a prize, you can now sell the ticket on a secondary market to someone who's interested in buying up the tickets to stake them, to have a greater stake in the company. So it's a very clever, well thought out system. The guys that I brought on to work with me are geniuses. They're very good guys as well, and they're very excited about it. And we're gonna put a lot of work into it, and it's gonna go a long way to supporting our existing platforms.
Nice. Thank you very much for that. That's brilliant. One thing I forgot to ask about the farms, I think I saw you mention that potentially the Drip BUSD farm might be earlier. We didn't get any context from it. It just said it's very soon. Is that something that potentially is going to happen? Without the rest of the farm, you know what I mean? Just that itself.
we're going to release the drip BUSD farm at the same time as the rest of the farm. Really, it's important to have the full ecosystem of the farm working together, because it creates the incentive to be locking up those pigs that you're earning rather than just putting them on the market. So we don't want people bringing their pigs to the market. We want people to be staking them up in the pig pen. So it's important that the rest of the mechanics of the farm are fully functional, which give incentive and cash flows to the pig pen. And if the rest of the farm is not open, you don't have those cash flows going to the pig pen. You still do have a cash flow going to the pig pen in the form of the piggy bank, but that's we're going to see increase in cash flow more than tenfold. I mean, it's with the new tax model, it's going to be. I mean, it's going to look, the rewards that are going to the pig pen now are going to be dust relative to what will be happening when the farm goes live. So it's really important we have those reward structures when it go, when the farms goes live. We can't have any farms open early that are not generating cash flow to the pig pen. So, but with Drip, we have some very awesome things in the works right now with James Devstreak and JS, who have agreed to the job. We've already started working on the job, and the UI for Drip, right, that we modeled after Charles Schwab's template that I think is a very beautiful template to get people to use your products when they visit the site. That whole design was already finished before I even brought on James Devstreak or JS. It's that we need to, we don't need to, but I don't want to launch the new UI without revamping some of the things that need to be done with the new UI. So, for example, I don't want to launch the new UI and then update the airdropping mechanism after, because that would take a revamping of the UI, because the UI has a lot to do with the airdropping thing. So I want to do it all at once, and because we're hyper focused on Animal Farm right now, the design was all built but kind of sitting on the shelf because we had these other things we need to do for it. And it was important to me that Drip UI and the things that I want to do for Drip didn't get further delayed from the other things I'm working on. And this is why it takes time to hire quality developers and go through the process of vetting and looking at their work and going over the job with them, determining whether they want to do it or not do it. We went through a lot of developers, probably 6 or 7 different developers that we considered for doing this work for Drip before we landed on JS and James Devstreak. James Devstreak was always in the mix where I wanted him to do the UI, but he's not super experienced in Solidity, so we needed a Solidity dev. So luckily, I was able to hire my buddy JS, who I've known for years, who worked for an auditing firm doing audits. And, I don't know if it's because it's like peak bear market or what the case is, but I've tried to hire him in the past, and he's always been busy. So probably because it's peak bear market now, there's not so many shitcoins to audit that he was available. So I was able to bring him on. He's super skilled Solidity dev. And they're going to complete the UI work, which isn't much, like a lot of the design's done, but also build out some new products for Drip that support the reservoir and the faucet, but don't change any of the mechanics of the reservoir or the faucet, because it's important to me, and I made this promise to myself and to the community, that we would never add like a V2 faucet or something where we just like change the percentage payout. And the reason for this is because people, when they stake in the faucet, they're locked up for a year, right, before they, well, No, they're not locked up for a year, but their principal is sent to the tax vault that they can't access that, and it takes at least 100 days to get that out. So let's say 100 days they're locked up for. So it's important that we don't, change the rules of the game after someone's already committed to the game. So this is why we've been slow to make any, major adjustments to drip. But what we've come up with is something that's an alternative way to stake into the faucet or into the reservoir. You could still use the regular way to get into the faucet or the reservoir, or you could decide to use this new mechanism that we've built that's a more gamified version, a more gamified way to get into the faucet, into the reservoir. And it has an element of lottery to it. It has an element of rewarding larger purchases. And it's not done on-chain data. For example, there's some other projects that have forked drip that have tried something like this, but they use all on-chain data to determine who is, the winner, for example, of these prizes. And at the end of the day, that's exploitable. For example, there was one that used block timestamp, block difficulty, and the amount of tickets sold.
Okay.
Block timestamp is predictable because you're calling the winner the same time every day. You could just project forward and you know what the block timestamp will be at that time. Block difficulty on BSC rarely changes. So you can have with high confidence what that value will be. So these two values that are supposed to be at least pseudo-random, you can predict them very easily. So they're not random.
It's easy to snipe is what you're saying. You could be sniped. Okay.
And then the last value was how many tickets were sold. That is manipulatable because you can buy tickets. You can change that value. And at the end of the day, when we were looking at some of these models, whether we were doing it, some of the existing models that are using this, we could be the winner of this supposedly random prize with a consistency of about 80% for buying 20 or less tickets. And that's just ridiculous, right? You can't have a model like that. So with our model, we're using Chainlink's VR service. There'll be a multitude of prizes that you could win. You're also rewarded for being a larger depositor. So it's also, not happening once a day or once a week where you're going to have a big price spike that people will know. There's a big price spike at this time that people can just dump into. Well, let's just wait to dump at that time, wait to withdraw and dump. Instead, it's a more spread out and consistent version where there's still the race to be the biggest, but it's spread out over the day. So it's a, as usual, major improvement on the current model that's working, and it's going to create a lot of excitement for Drip. And then on top of this, we have the Drip BUSD farm that's opening on Animal Farm. We have Scratchy coming. We have a use for Drip in the Pigpen game, the Pigpen hacker game, a really cool use for Drip. That's you can only use Drip to do this in the game, and it's something that's very fun that people that play the game will definitely want to take advantage of. So there's so much coming. Virtually everything that I just talked about is already built. So the Pigpen use of the game's already built. Scratchy already built. The farm, BSD farm, 95% built. And then the UI, it's about 80% built. And then the contract, we're building them now. So over the past 6 months, it's been about building up the team, both from a development and a managerial, right? We brought on a project manager. We brought on 5 new developers who are all working on different things. We brought on a CMO. We partnered with a marketing firm. So major changes from a team perspective. And also, we've built up multiple new products that are awesome. And really, we just need to just put the bow on Animal Farm. And once we do that, once Animal Farm goes live, we have these other products that are built, ready to go, so we can drop a new one every couple weeks, and it will create more excitement for our current assets dogs, pigs, and drip, and it's just going to be one after the other. A lot of excitement, a lot of fun, and a lot of value. And I can't wait. The hacker game is such a fun game and such a well balanced, in depth game that I know people are gonna love it, even if they don't care about the what they're earning from it, which will be great because it's coming from not only the purchases of assets in the game, which create the rewards, but also you buy into the game with pigs that's staked in the pig pen for you, so you're also earning from the pig pen while you play the game. And but even with that, if the game was just so launched as a standalone game that wasn't even a crypto game, people would still play it. That's how fun it is, and it's because it's similar to.
You smiling while you're talking about it, Forex? Can I detect smiling while you're talking here?
Well, I can hear it in your voice. So it's a game similar to the Mafia Wars games. So I don't know if any of you guys remember in like the early 2000s we had the turn-based that were very, very fun, very exciting, where you buy different characters, you buy bootleggers, hitmen, you buy brothels, and this kind of thing. Like, it's kind of an edgy game, but a lot of fun. And then you build up your team of all these characters, and then each turn the characters do their action and either build up money for you, or you can use one of your turns to take your hitmen or your thugs or your bodyguards, which all have different ratings, different attack or defense or ratings that allow you to steal from your opponent. It's basically the DeFi crypto model of one of these games, and we'll be the first to bring something like this to the market, and it's very fun. And it would be a great standalone game without it being crypto related. It would be a great standalone game as its own DeFi project, but having it built on top of the pig pen is just insane, right? Yeah. It's gonna people are gonna love it, and it's just another awesome use case for pigs and for drip. There's an element of drip in there too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the drip part when we get to find that out. But obviously, we don't want to say too much because there's copycats out there. So let's just leave that. We'll look forward to that when that game comes out, because I am looking forward to that game a lot. As I said before, I'm big into gaming, so that's going to be awesome. But if I could just push you back to Drip Forex. Okay. I've had a few questions. You answered quite a few while you were talking, so that's cool. But you mentioned that you don't like, obviously, changing the mechanics of the faucet, because that's what we bought into whenever we did.
Yeah.
So it'd be unfair to change it down the line. But there is some questions, and I probably know the answer already, but will there ever be an ability to update your body on the faucet? Now, not just that, but whether it be you get heavily taxed to do it and you can only do it once, or if someone's maxed out their wallet and they're your buddy and they're no longer active in the system, would that be able to be changed? There you go.
You know what? So I'm going to put that in front of the two developers that I brought on, and I'm going to challenge them to come up with a something that would allow for that, right? Because there's reasons why I don't want that to happen, but it can be considered, right? It can be considered again now that we're taking a fresh look at all the contracts with a couple of fresh eyes, and I'll consider it, right? So, but like I said, I want to be very careful about doing anything with drip, because drip works well, and
cool.
The things that I want to do for drip is building contracts on top of drip, not changing the existing drip contracts. So, we'll give it another look, but
it's not necessarily just because I've got a bad body and I don't get airdrops. That's not the level we're talking at. We're talking about the ability to maybe generate funds for the res or the tax vault if and there's again gamification. There's some games on, I play Call of Duty and stuff. To change your name, you can only do it once, but you got to pay them to do it.
Yeah.
And it's obviously you've answered it, which is great. I was just giving context to the question as opposed to my buddy's crap because he never airdrops me. That's not what we're about. We're about the longevity of us as an investor continuing to act.
Yeah.
We want to be rewarded for being.
So talk to Stonecutter and let's get to a meeting, right? You can join the next meeting that I have with the dev team, and you could give us some suggestion on why you think we should do it, and maybe that would help. We'd like your feedback.
Perfect.
Another thing, since you brought it up, such as like airdrops and referral links and this kind of thing. One interesting tool that we're going to take advantage of is both to track, because we're going to this new contract that we're building on top of Drip, because I don't take any dev fee off Drip, I don't take any marketing fee off of Drip, and that's not an issue, right? But we could do more marketing, right?
Yeah.
We like, if we had a marketing budget, especially now that I brought on someone to really put their full focus into marketing, we can do a lot more marketing with Drip. And he gave, our CMO, he gave us some really good ideas about how we can set up incentive structures for people that click banner ads, and create calls to action. Click this banner ad, you have this amount of time and you'll get a reward, and this reward is coming from essentially the referral when they click the banner ad, that referral that's associated with their deposit. So again, I don't want to give away too much, but we have a lot that we're working on that's like, we're going to take everything to the next level, including our marketing, just our ideas. And you were talking about how gaming, gaming is what you're looking for. And gaming is so important in DeFi. Like I said, gaming is up there with the top four. Like, in my opinion, gaming, lending, privacy, and insurance, right? That's where, aside from, there's some other financial products like escrow, there's a few other ones in there that are up there at the top of the list. But I think those four are really where it's at, and that's where our focus is going to be. But we're not, anything we build from now on, we're going to have scalability in mind, in the sense that it will support our native assets, and it will also be able to be used by other platforms that want to use it, other companies. People will be able to build their own brands around it, and at the end of the day, every dollar that comes into it helps our native assets. So that's the future, and that's what we're focused on.
Oh, absolutely. And when we talk about the whole system, I don't know, obviously I'm just someone who puts videos on YouTube about my DeFi journey, and this ecosystem is my biggest passion. Now, when I come to speak to people in the real world, because I have got my own business that is successful, and for instance, the directors of these businesses that I work with, when I talk to them about Drip and I say, you've got to get in this, you've got to do that, not financial advice, etc., their first question is, can I pay with a credit card or a debit card? So obviously they're talking about, on and off ramping. Is that something, I know you've spoke about it before, Simplex and MoonPay, I've heard it, but are we, going to be in a position eventually to potentially securely on-ramp our fiat and bang, just buy some Drip? And then we could, there's my card, there's my referral link, in you get.
So we should be able to get approval for it. There's projects that are much smaller than us, much, lower volume, equally as, volatile and everything. We're a better candidate than a lot of other projects that have fiat on-ramps. And after the last AMA, it put my focus back on that. And I had my project manager, Stonecutter, make applications out to those companies, and we're waiting on responses. But we've made actions on that, very recently, and we're essentially waiting for some sort of approval. If we get approval, great, we're going to move right into it. If we don't get approval, then we'll make moves to escalate the situation. But I'm confident that we can, just based on who has been able to.
That's awesome. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
And I've got another question. It's regarding a lot of people don't understand the supply of drip and the elastic supply. Could you just touch on, give us a summary of how the supply works? Because, you get some parts of the community saying, well, the supply is up to 200,000. What are we going to do? And they don't quite understand the elastic supply and how does it get back down and all that. If you could, in your words, that'd be great.
Yeah. So we could keep the supply on drip down, so by burning drip. So there's multiple mechanisms, and especially when the farm goes back live and some of these products go live, that have the ability to burn drip. I don't see that as the best use of drip, because then the faucet, if the faucet does not have drip in it, needs to mid-drip to ensure the system stays functional. Yeah. So drip that would otherwise be burned is better spent sending it to the tax vault to keep the supply down that way. And really what matters is where the supply of drip is. So if the supply of drip, which almost all started out faucet, then migrated to the LP tokens, to the garden, to the to the farm, then of course that's drip that is migrating out of the faucet and the tax vault. But the tax vault and the faucet still needs to be functional. So if that tax capital isn't there, it's going to create that drip to pay it out. But we know that almost none of that drip actually hit the market. It just went to various other staking contracts. And we know that because if you compare drip to the wider altcoin market, you can see that, projects like Cake, well established altcoin DeFi projects that pay yield, we have outperformed them, and we have, essentially moved with the market. And these projects are paying out 30, 40% APY. And we're paying out 1% compound interest daily and still able to sustain. It's still able to stay with them. So that tells you that the majority of capital that left the tax vault just went into other staking contracts. And that's fine. Like, there's no issue with that.
Cool.
Excuse me. So now, when you have a major correction like this in the market, you're going to have a lot of weak hands get shaken, and it causes some capital to leave the system. But we're paired with BNB, BNB paired with the overall market. The overall market did 80, 90% correction. Most altcoins did greater than 90% correction. And so did Drip, because Drip has the shared liquidity pools. So our USD value is directly related or directly correlated with the value of the assets we're paired with. So if the value our assets we're paired with go down in value 50%, Drip's USD value will go down by 50%, but its value against BNB and its value against these other assets still remains relatively stable, which is important. That's what I think is most important, because
very important.
The crypto market as a whole will recover and we'll still be here.
Well, that's the difference between price and value in it, Forex. You know what I mean? I try and educate my team every day on this price and value argument, and we get paid 1% a day in Drip, not dollars, not BNB, it's in Drip.
Yeah.
And if you realise the future value, when I joined the forces, I paid $122 for 12. But at that time, my plan was to check myself in 12 months. but it's not been 12 months yet. So what does the price matter today or tomorrow or September? It doesn't, because I realised that in my belief that my plan was next February on Valentine's Day to see where we are. And that is the value, because it's not paying me in dollars, it's paying me in drip. That doesn't change. It's the same every day. And I'm in a position now, I've got 2,700 drip. I'm doing, excuse me, I'm doing very well for myself, I think. And education down the right routes is how we're going to do it. And I'm a fair bloke, you know, I'm just from near Birmingham in the West Midlands of England, and we've been brought up with value in mind. And I think it's so important to educate our team members and wider community that it's drip that's 1%, and you're going to get paid the value in the future. You are, aren't you? That's the way it works.
Yeah, I mean it's programmed and immutable, so it's going to happen. So I have like 7 minutes. I have a project meeting that I have to go to in 7 minutes, but I want to say thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, you know, so much. You know, anytime you want me to have come on, I'll come back. Like, we could do this in a few months. Drip. So many people are used to. They're used to these pump and dump projects that only intend to last a month or a week or maybe 2 months. Drip isn't these kinds of projects. Drip has already had multiple 90% corrections, multiple new all-time highs, because we've lived through multiple market cycles. And if you're an altcoin, if you're in crypto, you're gonna live through these cycles. Well, if you're an altcoin that lasts long enough, because you have the integrity and you have the fundamentals, you're going to live through these cycles. And people are used to these projects where the developers don't care. They're in it for a short-term cash grab. So they have the state of mind that, you know, a project that's a year old is, you know, it's like a dinosaur in the space. Where, as I look at it, first of all, there's no other daily ROI platform in all of crypto that does it better than us. And secondly, we are just over a year old. We're just getting started. We're just starting to build some of these awesome utilities for drip. And, you know, I see us as really, really just getting started. It takes a year for drip to even start to hit some of its sustainability mechanisms, such as max payout at 365. Yeah. So, you know, one of the big whales that was in drip that actually had a competing project. So he had a little bit of an ulterior motive there, but he wanted to go very big right away and then just kind of drain the system until he couldn't anymore. He just hit his max payout a couple days ago. Someone just alerted me to that. So every day, people are hitting their max payout, right? The very early whales. That creates an opportunity for the new people to get in and not have to worry about this, you know, these big people over them that are taking profit. And as we continue to add utility, the stability of the platform will become that much more potent. And those people that got in pre-sale and for whatever reason did not maintain in the project because they wanted to cash grab or whatever the case is, they got their weekends, they got shaken out. Those people are being removed one day at a time, whether it's themselves getting out, you know, on their own or max payout. And this is just major opportunities for new capital to come in, and we're going to create new incentives for capital to come in, both through marketing and products and development. So it's exciting. I appreciate you having me on, and anytime.
Thank you, Forex. Thanks for your time and giving me the opportunity, mate. I appreciate it. You are our mighty leader. Take it easy, man, and I'll speak soon. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. All right, bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Whew, that was cool. Right then, I haven't looked at any comments. I apologise. Forex is cool, man. I apologise for my voice as well. I've got strep throat. I was struggling halfway through to speak. Right then, come on, give me the, you know, I know I didn't want to interrupt too much because so many questions that I've been given were being answered. I was going through, I was checking all the comments, all the questions on this document that Maxis has made me, and Forex was just knocking the questions, the answers to the questions out. I apologise I didn't get to the garden. My bad, but what is that red thing at the top? Barter Town, fair play. He's just dropping $100. That's very kind of you, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's cool. Yeah, so that's ace. That's very nice, man. Yeah, obviously I've got a whiteboard with 20 questions. I've got a document with 35 questions. And I was looking at all these different screens, and luckily Forex was answering them all. And I've missed out 8 questions I haven't highlighted. But I want to say thanks to everyone that's been in the chat. I appreciate you. This is my first ever interview in crypto, right? So you got to give me some credit. Before you leave, remember to subscribe and like the stream. That'd be awesome. But I actually think that my style. Some of you know I was a public servant before resigning and doing this, and interviewing was a big part of that job, but it was under different circumstances. And obviously Forex is so intelligent. I did feel a little nervous, like, anyone that's been fudding me in the chat, and I've seen a couple, you try and do it, because everything's fine until that voice pops up saying, I'm here. So I apologize if some questions didn't get asked, but I was kind of in awe listening to the man speak. So, yeah. Some interesting stuff, though. Some great answers. And, I think some of the stuff that we've been talking about is amazing, especially the buddy thing. And I did want to get across that it's not about when airdrop. We're a bit cleverer than that. We want to talk more about potentially, if your buddy's maxed out his wallet and doesn't use it anymore, then potentially you could move on to a new buddy, but I think you'd have to pay for it and burn some drip or put it in the reservoir or something like that. So, I mean, the fact that Forex said I could be involved in that meeting, I've never heard that on an AMA. That's amazing. I'd love that. It'd be amazing. Oh, I never asked about the dog. My bad. But then, I don't want to dox the dog. We can't dox his dog, can we?